English Grammar, Lesson 26. Topic: Modal verbs, expressing past possibilities.
Many of you know that I just took a vacation. The question is, where did I go? I'm going to give you 4 clues, and each time I give you a clue, you'll have the chance to make one guess. Are you ready to start? I traveled by car. Before my trip, our family car had about 9,000 miles. Now, our family car has over 10,000 miles.
Make your first guess by completing one of the sentences below.
My children came with me. Now they're only 3 and 5. That's a lot to handle. So I was very happy that the children's grandmother came along with us.
Make your second guess by completing one of the sentences below.
Where we went, things were different and yet the same, comfortable and familiar.
Make your third guess by completing one of the sentences below. Make your final guess by completing one of the sentences below. The answer is, Jennifer traveled to her home state of Pennsylvania. She and her children visited relatives there. I live in Massachusetts now, so we traveled from here down to here. Both states are on the East Coast, but Massachusetts is in New England, and Pennsylvania is considered a mid-Atlantic state. My relatives are in western Pennsylvania.
So how did you do? Did you need all 4 clues to guess my destination? Let's talk about the language you used to make your guesses.
Perhaps some of your guesses sounded like these. Maybe she visited relatives. It's not likely she traveled far with 2 small children. In this lesson, I'd like to help you understand that these kinds of guesses about the past can be expressed another way. Those guesses can be restated with modal verbs. She may have visited relatives. She must not have traveled far with 2 small children. Do you see how the meaning hasn't changed? It's just a different structure. Please understand that when you're 100% certain about past events, then no modal verbs are needed. For example, look at these 4 sentences. They're facts. Jennifer was on vacation. She took a trip. Last week she was traveling. She has returned from her trip. No modals used. But when you're not 100% certain about past events, your first choice is to use words and phrases to express your doubt. For example, maybe, perhaps, it's possible, it's likely, as you did in the game. Your second choice when you're not 100% certain about past events is to use modal verbs such as must, may, might, and could. Let's pause and recall what you know already about modal verbs.
Modal verbs have different uses. We use modal verbs to express ability, things that we can or can't do. We use modal verbs to express necessity, things that we should or shouldn't do. Right now, we're going to use modal verbs to express possibilities, possibilities in the past. When you don't know exactly what happened and you have to guess, modal verbs will help you express how certain you are. We use different modal verbs to express a high degree or low degree of certainty. Most often, we use a modal verb plus a base verb. This is the structure when we're talking about the present or the future. For example, I can dance. You should study. But when we're talking about the past, there's a different structure needed, a past form. Let me show you this structure.
This past form, sometimes also known as the perfect aspect, uses the modal verb plus have plus the past participle. Here's an example of the affirmative. She may have visited relatives. An example of the negative. She must not have traveled far with two small children. Note the placement of not. There are different modal verbs to help us express different degrees of certainty. If you're very certain, but not exactly 100%, you can use must have or the modal-like expression had to have. In the negative, couldn't have and must not have are very strong. Couldn't have is slightly stronger because it expresses someone's belief that something was impossible. Now, if you're less certain about a possibility, may have, might have, and could have are your choices. They're about 50% or less certain. In the negative, may not have and might not have are your choices. Exercise 1. Read the statement, then choose the more logical guess. Example. You'll read the fact. We woke up early on the day of our departure, but we left the house rather late. Then you must choose the more logical explanation. Which is more logical, A or B? Jennifer must not have finished packing the night before? Or Jennifer must have decided to take a long morning nap? I hope you agree that A is more logical. Now you try number 1. Fact. We sat in a lot of traffic both to and from Pennsylvania. Can you guess why? The more logical explanation is B, and in fact that's the truth. There were some accidents along the way. Number 2. Fact. I learned some interesting history about the 3 rivers of Pittsburgh. Can you guess how? Well, hopefully you agree that while someone's on vacation, doing research isn't the best way to spend time. So B is the more logical answer. And in fact, that's the truth. I did take a riverboat cruise with my children. Number 3. Fact. My son sneezed and coughed a lot at his grandmother's house, but not at other relatives' homes. Can you guess why? The more logical answer is B. If you have a cold, it goes with you no matter where you go. The unfortunate truth is that we discovered my son is allergic to cats. We didn't know that before. Exercise 2. Rewrite each sentence so that a modal verb is used. Let's try an example together. First we read the fact. We spent a lot of time outdoors. Next we read the guess. They probably had good weather in Pennsylvania. Probably has a strong degree of certainty, so let's use must. They must have had good weather in Pennsylvania. Now you try number 1. Fact, my daughter received a lot of clothes. Read the guess and rewrite it with a modal verb. It's possible expresses a low degree of certainty. We can say, she may have gotten them from an older cousin. We can use may have, might have, or could have. And in fact, this is the truth. It's very common among American children to receive clothes from an older cousin or an older sibling. Number 2. Fact. We decided to break the long drive into 2 days. We can rewrite the guess as, they must have stayed in a hotel one night. It's also possible to say, had to have stayed. 3. Fact. We saw a baby elephant. We can rewrite the guess as, they might have gone to the zoo. Might have, may have, could have are all possible. And in fact, we did go to the Pittsburgh Zoo. Additional practice for this lesson is available at EnglishCafe.com. My username is Jennifer ESL. Follow the direct link listed in the video description. Remember, it's free to join.
That's all for now. Thanks for watching and happy studies.